I know that we were saying that Americans really have that short memory when it comes to government shutdowns, but recent polling does show that more Americans blame President Trump and Republicans for this shutdown. Do you think that really bodes well for the midterms?
So what we traditionally see is that the party that is not in the White House is the one that does better in the midterms. Now, I think that polling is really important and sort of indicates where the country is thinking, where they're headed. And I said this earlier, it's really hard for Republicans, in my opinion. And listen, I've been a staffer for a long time, and I don't have to be the good little Republican staffer anymore who repeats the talking points. I get to say what I think, and what I think is that it's really hard for Republicans to make a case against Democrats when they're in charge of the House, the Senate, and the White House. Now, if Democrats were in charge of one of the chambers or the White House, then I absolutely think that there's a case to be made. But you are the party in power. You said when you were going to be in power that you were going to fix everything, and the American people entrusted you to do that. And now you're not keeping the government funded. It is shut down, and you have to work with your colleagues across the aisle to make sure that our American families are protected. And in this moment, it does not look good for Republicans next year. Ultimately, though, I will say that despite the fact that that's my opinion, the party that is going to win the shutdown war is the party that's going to be doing better messaging. And whoever the American people ultimately think is at fault today, that's what polling indicates. We'll see once this is all wrapped up and after the aftermath of the messaging, how Americans feel.
I want to talk about someone who's gotten a lot of attention for their recent comments, and that is Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. And usually she is in seeming complete lockstep with President Trump on a lot of issues, but she's saying that she doesn't think he's getting good advice in his ear when it comes to, oh, this shutdown's going to be good for Republicans when it comes to the midterms. She also said she doesn't, quote, think it's good advice that Republicans ignoring the health insurance crisis is going to be good for midterms, and added, I actually think that would be very bad for midterms. And she also said before that the number one issue she keeps hearing in her district comes to health care, comes to health insurance, those types of things. She also said it is absolutely shameful, disgusting, and traitorous that our laws and policies screw the American people so much that the government is shut down right now fighting over basic issues like this. What do you think of her commentary there, and especially when it comes to the health care costs that Democrats are raising the alarm about?
I can't believe I'm agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I guess a broken clock is still right twice a day. I think she hit the nail on the head. And seeing some of these interviews, she's been extremely polished. She seems very stateswomanly, and I've known her, and I think maybe we've all known her at least on television, right, to be a little chaotic. And so I'll give her kudos for that. I think that she's on the right side on this issue. And when it comes to healthcare, like, let me tell you, I'm a fairly young American, and I have had issues on and off with healthcare over the years. And I have no pre-existing conditions. Like I said, I'm healthy, and I can't imagine all of these Americans who are struggling with healthcare, not just the cost, but also even being able to get healthcare when it's only an open marketplace, during certain times of the year. So good for her. And I also think that she was very smart in the way that she approached it. In the beginning of that comment, you were talking about how she said that she thinks the president has people in his ear who are giving him bad advice as opposed to blaming him directly. And so I think that is a good way for her to be able to go about it, because as we know, she's been sort of a tried and true Trump supporter. And in this way, she's able to still be that and say, like, hey, I'm kind of worried that he's getting bad advice, as opposed to like these are his decisions solely.
To your point, I mean, every American at some point, healthy or having pre-existing conditions, faces an issue with their health care. And you don't know how much or you don't realize how much it costs until you have an issue. I recently had an issue with my health care over a minor thing. I didn't even break my foot, had a minor issue, and suddenly that healthcare cost felt like an albatross. And Americans have felt that time and time again. Do you think, as you said earlier, whoever wins this shutdown is going to win based off messaging? Do you think Republicans should take a page out of Marjorie Taylor Greene's book and start messaging her way as well?
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but yes, maybe on this issue specifically, or the way that she has recently spoken about this issue. Now, I'm not saying everything, and maybe not this issue always, but I think that she's done a really good job about talking on this issue. And, it's not just a messenger, it's not just a message, it's the messenger. And she has been a surprisingly good messenger on this as of late. And I think that she's right. And, maybe this is a turn for her, and the way that she legislates moving forward. But I do think that this is something that we're going to need to be talking more about. And personally, right, I always cared about healthcare, but unfortunately, sometimes it's not until you've had the lived experience yourself and you see the hurdles and the obstacles ahead of you that you really become passionate about an issue. So this is something that I personally become extremely passionate about, and I think that as people get older and they have experiences as well, they become more passionate about it too. And so I kind of see a change in that coming up, especially when we have some of the folks coming out in reducing the cost of prescriptions, like a Mark Cuban, and people who are sort of billionaires and doing this philanthropic thing. And so I think that we're going to continue talking about this issue.